Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel we post writing tips, unboxings, book hauls, book reviews and the occasional vlog. And today we are continuing my Discworld journey with The Truth by Terry Pratchett. If you're not new to my channel, you will know I am reading the Discworld series in order and I am up to The Truth, which is the 25th Discworld novel. We have hit the happy years of Pratchett's sussing writing, which I'm very pleased about. This one is very reminiscent of soul music and moving pictures. Now, moving pictures I believe I read before I started doing book reviews on this channel, but soul music I did do a book review. That link is above me now if you haven't seen that. The Truth follows the idea of the creation of the printing press. Now, like all Pratchett works, he has definitely improved from soul music and moving pictures in this one, because soul music and moving pictures I really wasn't fond of. It wasn't for me. This one, much better. Still not my favourite Pratchett book, but it was a lot better than the last two that looked into the creation of something. And we have an entirely new character. You'll know my favourites are the witches, and like everyone else on the planet, the Watch series is sublime. But we have a new character, which is always fun, and I absolutely adore Otto Shriek. As always with my book reviews, I'll read you guys the blurb first. William just wants to get at the truth. Unfortunately, everyone else wants to get at William, and it's only the 3rd edition. William de Worde is the accidental editor of the Discworld's first newspaper. Now he must cope with the traditional perils of a journalist's life. People who want him dead, a recovering vampire with a suicidal fascination for flash photography, some more people who want him dead in a different way, and worst of all, the man who keeps begging him to publish pictures of his humorously shaped potatoes. There are reviews on the back. Peter Ingham from The Times. The Truth is an unmitigated delight and very, very funny. The pace is compelling, but he never lets his tale descend into simple farce. James Delingpole, Daily Telegraph, fluent, intricately plotted, and sometimes very funny. Mail on Sunday. He would be amusing in any form, and his spectacular inventiveness makes the Discworld series one of the perennial joys of modern fiction. And Maggie Pringle, Daily Express. Pratchett fans are in for a treat with his 25th Discworld novel. So this novel came out in 2000, and the Corgi edition, which is this one, was in 2001. It's well loved, as you can see. It's from the collection me and Matt put together. But let's jump right into my quotes from this book. Page 49. We always thought change came from outside, usually on the point of a sword. But then we look around and find that it comes from inside the head of someone you wouldn't notice in the street. In certain circumstances, it may be convenient to remove the head. If I asked you which Pratchett character said that quote, who would you pick? That is challenge to Pratchett readers, which if you're watching this, I presume you are. Who said that quote? Please comment down below. I want to see who got that quote before they know who it is. I'll tell you at the end who it was. But I trust you guys. You got it. Page 52. Mr. Tulip, who was holding a paper bag in one hand and in the other hand a spoon. He was using the spoon to ferry a fine white powder to his nose, mouth, and once, Charlie would have sworn, his ear. Oh, Pratchett, we gone there. Not only have we gone into the attempted drugs, we've also gone into ing words, and I'm happy to say Pratchett takes the mick out of that in his own writing. We have a reference on this page to music with rocks in it, which links to soul music. And also in this book, it does refer back to the fiasco of moving pictures, which is from the moving pictures. I love how Pratchett is starting to reference himself in his work. Page 106. Well, it's been very cold. Has it? Has it indeed? My word. On his desk, the tiny iceberg bumped against the side of Lord Vetinari's inkwell. I love it. When you first go into Lord Vetinari's office in this book, it mentions how his ink is now ice, and nothing Pratchett says is ever useless. It always comes back, so I love how it comes back as a little tiny iceberg. And it's to show the point that they've written an article about how cold it is, which they do every year in all newspapers. And so, of course, Pratchett's taken the piss out of that with them writing an article about how cold it is, and Vetinari's ice inkwell has a little iceberg in it. Page 110. Dibbler watched them go. It wasn't often you heard language like that in Ankh-Morpork. Most people talked without leaving gaps in their sentences, and he wondered what the word ing meant. You know how I said he's gone down the drug stage and the ing, but he takes the piss out of it himself? He's taking the piss. Page 114. Ah, you're all right, said Nobbs, looking slightly disappointed. Feel faint, William muttered. I could give you the kiss of life if you like, said Nobbs. Unbidden to William, various muscles spasmed and jerked him vertical, so fast that his feet momentarily left the ground. Much better now, he shouted. Poor Nobby. I love Nobby Nobbs. Oh, he just wanted to give the kiss of life. But of course, the face of Nobbs coming towards you would be enough to either kill or wake anyone in that situation. Page 131. William wondered why he always disliked people who said no offence meant. Maybe it was because they found it easier to say no offence meant than actually refrain from giving offence. Preach. I'm now going to say spoiler alert. If you don't want spoilers from this book, skip to this time here. Spoiler alert. I just have 2 quotes left and then we'll get into the overall review of this book. Page 364. On Otto's workbench, the salamanders detected the heat. They liked heat. Their ancestors had evolved in volcanoes. They woke up and began to purr. Salamanders purring, this made me so happy. Oh, I mean, it takes me back to when I first read about Errol. I love Errol. So me and Matt actually went to the Terry Pratchett Museum for a short time. There was a museum after his death and we went there and we got this picture, which I will post in this corner for you, of all the Discworld characters, and it's fantastic how you know which characters which from the descriptions, even though they're not described that much in the books. But there was also at the same time a picture of just Errol, and at the time we could definitely only afford one, and we couldn't really afford that, but we had to have one. This museum was only there for a short time, and Matt's parents gave me some money towards it, bless them, to give me it as a Christmas present. And I was so grateful. So I got it, this Discworld picture. If that museum opened again, I would be leaving with a picture of Errol. Errol. Oh my god, can you imagine? Can you imagine if they did a picture of Grebo as well? You could have Errol and Grebo side by side. I'm dreaming now, aren't I? Page 443. And behind her, the big black vampire of a printing press waited to be fed. This reminded me of a French translated book called The Reader. I'll put a link above to my review of that book. And that was a really interesting book from Matt's Mom's Book Club. And it was about a gentleman who worked in a pulp factory, so where you send books to die, and the pulping machine. And he gave that pulping machine a personality and a life. And the printing press getting given a life and a personality made me reminisce about that book. And welcome back if you're here from the spoiler-free zone. We're now going to go into my overall review of The Truth by Terry Pratchett. As I said, this is a newer one for Pratchett based on soul music, which looked into the appearance of rock music, and moving pictures, which looked into the creation of film. This looks into the printing press. This is the best of those type of book for definite. The printing press actually feels like it continues afterwards, whereas the other two, they both felt like they died. But I do appreciate how soul music and music with rocks in it is referred to as still going on in this, but both just felt like they died flat. This doesn't. One of the main themes in this is the morals of the news and of telling the truth, and it's amazing that Pratchett wrote this in 2000, and yet in 2024 we are still having massive problems with fake news, and the chaos that it is causing in the UK is just ridiculous. And I love how Pratchett was already writing about this in 2000. It's always been an issue. And I like how there's 2 newspapers in this, The Times, which tries to be as truthful as it can be with the knowledge that it has to sell papers, and The Inquirer, which is just entirely made up, which just reminded me of the Daily Mail. I did find I loved meeting the new characters. I adored Otto Schreck specifically. Otto Schreck is the photographer who's a vampire who obviously every time he takes a picture it flashes. Vampires can't have light, so he disintegrates into a pile of dust, but it's okay, if you pour blood on him he comes back. Perfect sense, completely sensible career choice for a vampire. So I love that there are new characters. However, it did make the start of this book feel quite slow. It did pick up pace by the end. It is another sort of murder mystery kind of esque book, which we know if you've seen my other videos on this channel. Pratchett is a fantasy writer who was designed for writing murder mystery. He's just so good at it. I think I finally got into it fully by page 120, so the first 120 pages weren't the best for me. The last 100 pages I was hooked. I loved Mr. Tulip's character. He was my favourite gangster and I felt so sad. Now Matt actually did talk to me about this one because when something happens to Mr. Tulip and I was like, Tulip! And Matt sat next to me and he's like, you do know Mr. Tulip is a murderer. And I was like, I know, but he's Mr. Tulip. And it's funny how Pratchett can write a character that makes you feel sorry for a murderer. Fantastic. There is, again, only two women really in this book. One is Angua, who's barely in it, but she is in it. One works with Mr. De Word and lacking a bit of representation. The dwarfs are in it and obviously their gender is neutral. So representation wise, not his best, not his worst. We'll now go into my overall review. So for enjoyment, I gave it an 8 out of 10. Like Soul Music and Moving Pictures, it's not my favourite, but it's written far better than those two. So if you are going to go into that kind of world of Discworld, this one is where I'd recommend to start from if you're not planning to go through a Discworld series in order. World building, 10 out of 10, it's the Discworld. Plot, 7. It felt like Mr. De Word didn't really have a plot or a goal. Eventually he does, but that's forced upon him. Sort of like the Rincewind character, which you'll know in my Rincewind book reviews. I do actually like Rincewind, but the around him needs to have a far more stable plot in order for that kind of character to work. This one was lacking a little bit in that, but it did get it by the end. Writing style, 10 out of 10, it's Pratchett. Originality, 10 out of 10, Pratchett. Representation, an 8 for the time period, very good. And characterization, 10 out of 10, again, it's Pratchett. I don't know why I bother with those. He's always going to score 10 for originality, characterization, world building and writing style, because it's Pratchett. So overall, I gave this book 4 stars out of 5. If you want to read a Discworld series that isn't part of the Witches or the Guards series, I'd recommend starting with The Truth. It was written very well. I really want to read more about Otto Schreck. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you like to see as soon as I upload, click the little bell down below. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Tumblr. I post on bookish pictures as well as my writing tips and unboxings on there. I'll see you guys in the next one, in the 26th Discworld novel. I'm really enjoying this journey and I hope you guys are enjoying taking this journey with me. And thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!